So welcome, Alberta. We are going to, each of the panel members will be asking you several questions over a 5-minute period. We'll each have 5 minutes, and then we're going to go to the next interviewer. So you'll be on, but in terms of your lighting and background, Bruce, look good?
Looks all right. I'm the right height for you.
Oh, yes, you're good.
I think she all looks good. Passes technical.
I was sitting on my dictionary. So now I took it away because I was a little bit too high up on the screen.
So great, Alberta. You're fine the way you're positioned right now. So we're going to again go through all the different interviewers that we have. We'll ask you questions, and again, take your time. We'll have 5 minutes for each of the questions, and Sean Lester will begin. Okay.
Aloha, Kako.
Aloha.
Nice to see you, Alberta. First of all, we want to thank you for running for office. We know that it's difficult to run for office. It means you have to really put yourself out there, both you and your family. And it's also an obligation over a period of time, which is difficult to tell what's going to happen. We have some extraordinary times that we're in the middle of. And once you sign on, there's no telling where the ride's going to take you. So our democratic process is essential for people like you to step forward and to run. And we really honestly thank you for that. And we also want to let you know that we're here to ask deep probing questions. We walk in with an open mind, and we want to hear what you have to say. Sometimes we're very surprised with what we hear as we have our probing questions, and it gives us much more pause to think of who we will be recommending along the way. So once again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So the first question I have is, out of 62 years, 60 years of that, it was either Goro or Ricky Hokama that have run the county council, basically since the beginning of, I guess, since the beginning of time, with only one break. So I know Ricky. I've worked with Ricky over a period of time, and I understand kind of that time flow that he's worked with. What is it that makes you, out of the three people, the person that can step into that place, and what is it that you're going to do that's differently? If you could take about a minute for each one of those.
You know, for the past 11 years, I've been the editor and publisher of LANAI Today, which was a community newspaper I started in 2008, just when the recession was full on. And my feeling at that time was we needed something in our community to bring us together and to support our small businesses. And I'm really proud of the fact that I sold my newspaper in November with the idea that I wanted to go on to other things. But when I sold my newspaper, about 75% of the advertisers I had when I started the newspaper were still with me. So it was truly, you know, a community effort for me. And because of the newspaper, I attended almost all of the community meetings that were occurring on LANAI. Backtracking a bit, I returned to LANAI in I grew up here. My family moved here in 1950. So I came back to LANAI several times over the course of the years. So I actually had the lease on Hotel LANAI. And if you remember then, we were in a recession at that time too. Our economy was really, really tanked here on this island. So I've had a front row seat on all of the development taking place. I worked for David Murdoch. I did a community newsletter for him mainly to let the islanders, the residents here, know what the development plans were. So Mr. Murdoch transitioned us from the pineapple industry to tourism. Now we have 2 resort hotels owned by Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison owns 98% of the island. And I'm looking back now on what it would have been like if Mr. Ellison hadn't picked up our payroll. You know, we have 1,200 people working for Kulama LANAI and Four Seasons Resorts. And
I appreciate what you're saying, but I actually asked you 2 questions. And the questions were, what would you do different than Goro and Ricky? That's the number 1 question.
Okay.
Say again.
I would listen to people. I would hear what people are saying and what they are wanting. And I would work with them instead of just going my merry way. So that's what I would do differently. I would listen to people, not just on LANAI, but throughout Maui County.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the other question I have, I apologize, because I only have a short amount of time, so I have to run through. The other thing is Maui County is quite diverse, and it sounds like you're very steeped in LANAI. The thing is, and we only have 1 minute. That's great, and I really hear those roots. I live Hana side. Okay, other people live Kihei side. You have people in Wailuku, Kahului. You have to go all the way. You'll have to go all the way across. How much do you know, and what can you do for the people of these other areas? What is your non-LANAI centric areas that you can honestly know and help?
You know, I just finished serving on the Maui County Liquor Commission. I've served on numerous county boards and also county nonprofit organizations such as Tri-I, RC&D. I'm no stranger to Maui. I lived 35 years in Hana. I've lived on and off in Wailuku. I'm very, very familiar with Kihei and also with Lahaina. So of all three candidates applying for this position, I think I am the most well-rounded person for the Maui County Council. I also have roots on Molokai too.
Okay, great. From here, I'm going to turn it over to Sylvia.
Hi, Sylvia.
Hi, Alberta. Thank you for coming. Maybe to continue some of your conversation with Sean, you were serving in a lot of community meetings and participating in how the development plans were unfolding on LANAI. And where do you see the tourist industry going on Maui and LANAI? And do we need to regulate it? What can we do to diversify our economy so it's not totally dependent on tourism? What are your thoughts about where the planning is going?
Well, I think we have to revamp. You know, Maui Visitors Bureau is a little bit disappointed in the amount of money that they're being funded with. But I think that locally, we are being stressed out to the max. Our situation on LANAI is totally different from what's happening on Maui, but even here on LANAI, we're getting pushback now on short-term vacation rentals. I can understand why people don't want them as neighbors. I think that we really have to take a good hard look at tourism and figure out where we're going and how we're going to do it, because it's not working the way it is now. We need to think about our local residents and their local lifestyles and how we can create other jobs besides working in the hotel industry.
Thank you, Alberta. And as part of diversifying our economy and being more prepared for emergencies, how do you feel we could best support the idea of more food sovereignty here in the islands? And how can we support local organic farmers?
You know, I started a small farm on 1.5 acres in 2003. And I closed it in 2016 because I was just too old and too weak to start harvesting bananas by myself. So I had a huge farm, and with about 6 acres in apple bananas. And I am also a member of the Hawaii Farmers Union United. So I really enjoy attending their workshops and programs where they teach farmers how to regenerate soil and keep their soil healthy and be sustainable. I was also on the Maui Farm Bureau board for a while, and they do a really good job in promoting legislation to help farmers. So I'm all in. I'm totally involved in the farming community, and I try to attend as many workshops and events as I can, even though I'm not actively farming myself now.
Thank you, Alberta, for your participation in the community. Farming is a pretty hard job. And how do you feel about the use of pesticides, pesticide regulation, and the use of pesticides on LANAI and on Maui?
I think we have to be really careful, you know, because I thought I was using best farming practices, and I did use herbicides outside of my planting area on the perimeter of my farm to keep weeds down. But the good old-fashioned way of pulling weeds and weed whacking rather than using chemical beans is my preferred method. So I think we really need to be heads up on it, and I fully support the organic farming movement. I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we're going to turn it over to Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, aloha, Alberta. Appreciate you coming to us today.
Thank you.
I'm going to start off with this one question, and I have some others. As a public representative, it is a duty to face the truth and to act righteously. These islands reflect the lowest voter turnout in the United States. On May 15, 2019, Dr. David Keanu Sai gave a presentation to the Maui County Council, evidencing the illegal overthrow of Queen Liliuokalani in 1893 and showing clear violation of domestic and international law with the ongoing illegal United States military occupation of the Kingdom of the Hawaiian Islands. As a candidate for public representation, how do you rectify handling the truth of Dr. Sai's presentation, as well as the works of Keamoku Kapu, Henry Noah, Amelia Gora, Bumpikan Nahele, Leon Su, Dr. Josias, Madame Ruth Bolome, the Ko Hawaii Pai Aina office in Hilo, etc.? How do you rectify the compliance of the law and restoration of occupied lands?
That's a really hard question. I'm part Hawaiian. My grandmother is full-blooded Hawaiian. I don't believe in the sovereignty movement, although I respect them to voice their opinions and their rights. What I would like to ask all Hawaiian people in this state is, if you feel very strongly about the way our country and our government here in Hawaii is coined, then you should speak up. You should run for public office. You should be in the legislature. You should be in county councils. You should be on boards and commissions, because you can accomplish more within the system than outside of the system. My sister was a state representative for 19 years. I myself have always been really active and outspoken on different issues. I did go up to Mauna Kea to see what was occurring there, and I really honor and respect the people who are in the sovereignty movement, but I think that they should become part of the government. And, you know, John Waihee was our first Hawaiian governor. We should be looking at having another Hawaiian governor, maybe not in this next upcoming election in 2 years, but down the road. We need to be developing more Hawaiian leaders who will speak up and represent us in the United States government.
Hey, mahalo, Alberta. Now, did you see the presentation that Keanu Sai gave?
No, I did not.
No? Okay. Okay. I'm going to pass on the next question, and I'll come back to you, Alberta. Mahalo.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Alberta, what is the source of your financial funding for your campaign, and who are you being endorsed by currently?
Well, what's happening is I've gone out and I've sought out endorsements from all of the labor unions, Sierra Club, just everywhere that I can go, because right now we can't physically get out and campaign face to face with people. So because I'm stuck here on LANAI, what I thought I would do is I would start writing to people I know, because I have a huge list of contacts that I've made. I've been in business since 1968 in Maui County, so I have a huge list of contacts. And I've been writing old-fashioned letters and buying stamps and putting them in the mail, and people are responding to that. I can't be on Maui to do a fundraiser. So the way that I'm doing it is person to person, one contact at a time. I have some mainland donors. Most of them are part-time. The donors that I have had from the mainland, some are personal friends, but a lot of them are property owners on LANAI, and they deserve to have a voice at the table too, because they own property here on LANAI. and they donate a huge amount of money to our community. So they should have a voice, but I'm willing to listen to everybody. I am also very, very conscious of the fact that some people may perceive me to be a corporate person, that I'm only going after corporations. I'm not. I'm going to whoever will support me, whoever will support what I stand for. I believe in fairness and honesty. So I'm hoping to be totally transparent.
Thank you. How do you feel about term limits for county members?
Yes, yes. One of my goals is to make sure that we never have this happen to us again, where one person stays in office forever. You know, Ricky is very anti-cat person. I am a huge cat supporter. I helped to build the LANAI Cat Sanctuary. And what's happening now, trying to put through a resolution that will make it against the law to feed stray cats, I can't abide by it. I'm sorry. I just cannot tolerate that.
Thank you. And how about another charter amendment to change so we have district voting instead of countywide voting?
District voting sounds, you know, for LANAI, then it would be really easy. But once you're elected, once you're on the council, you represent all of the people of the county, not just the island of LANAI. I don't think it's really fair the way it is now, but that's the way it is, and that's the way it will have to be. I want to be able, as a private citizen, I want to have the right to go to the council member that I feel most comfortable with, that I can call their office and talk to them instead of just my council member in my district.
Thank you. And with that, I will pass it to the next person, Paul.
Yep. Hi, Alberta. My question has to do with the lifeblood of the island and water. And the question is, would you support the county asserting eminent domain over the EMI system in order to administrate the public trust water resources for food security necessary for the community?
Paul, I would support it if the county had the know-how, if they have the people with the knowledge to manage the water system, then yes, I would support it. But it's going to be a really difficult thing to do. It's so complicated. If they're county employees that are running the system, I just don't know if we have that kind of resources here in Maui County who could do it.
The question is not so much as to the exact form it would take, because that's a big question mark as to it, but whether to assert the shift and changes of the ownership and use eminent domain along that line. Now, whether that goes into a public trust, whether that goes into some type of commission that's located here on the island, there's a lot of different options for that. But in terms of eminent domain, then, and asserting that, again, if you could just rephrase that a little bit.
I think it will have to go to eminent domain and become a public trust, and then it would be our responsibility to make sure that we can hire the best people possible to manage the system, because water is a really big problem on Maui. Not so much on Molokai and LANAI. On LANAI, our water source is very well managed.
Okay, thank you. Alberta, also, you served on the commission for the alcohol, and I'm wondering if you could, first of all, say how long you've been on that commission, and have you done things specifically to support the community?
You just went completely blank. There was a beep beep, and then you went away.
Okay.
I'm blank. Who's blank? I don't understand.
So the question is, Alberta, about the commission that you've been on for alcohol, and I'm wondering if first of all, how long you've been on the commission, and secondly, are there specific things that you've helped support that have made positive changes?
Well, I'd like to think that we got more drunk drivers off the road, but I went onto the commission when the commission was going to be audited because of the big blow up that they had about pushing through 24-hour liquor sales. I was definitely against 24-hour liquor sales. I had been asked to serve on the Commission for Urban Design, and I just looked at urban design and said, whoa, don't you have anything with more action and more problems? So they looked at me and said, well, do you want to go to the Liquor Commission? And I said, yes, I'd love to go to the Liquor Commission, because so many things were happening where it seemed as if the department, liquor control, was totally ignoring the wishes of the people. 24-hour liquor sales was one of those things. I went to the first meeting that the auditor had in Kihei, and there's a huge group of people there. I was the only person from the Liquor Commission there, and I had just joined them. My goal with the Liquor Commission was to make it a friendlier, user-friendlier place for our licensees, and to do education rather than writing out tickets, writing out fines for licensees, that we should concentrate on taking their employees and making sure they knew what the laws were. I got into trouble with the NRA because they called me a little old lady because I was against them having real guns at a gun auction fundraiser that they were having. And I sided with the Maui Police Department, who did testimony saying that they did not support having the guns there. So I sided with the police department. If you ask me now how I feel about the brewery that was doing hand sanitizers and giving them out, I thought they should give him a resolution honoring him instead of trying to fine him.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed being on the commission, and it was a very interesting period. So I was on it for 2 years. I had to resign to run for this office.
So as it stands, there are a couple of three things that are coming up before the council. One is they were just able to pass a county manager that's going to be on the ballot next time around. Have you followed it at all? Do you understand what the county manager is, and what are your thoughts of that in about a minute?
You know, if I've done a lot of work with Santa Claus. If he was going to be the managing director, I would have no problem. So let me get this dog. Come on in. Come on, inside. Come on in. He's the barker. But how my concern was, what is this actually going to cost us? How do we hire him? What are we going to do if he doesn't work out? Do we give him a golden parachute and a ton of money just to get him out? There are so many unanswered questions. When you look at it on paper, it looks as if it would be a good idea to take the managing director's position out and be on the side. But I don't know. I didn't know what the details are going to be. How much would it cost us?
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, it's been looked at for 9 years. It's been worked on very hard for the last 4.5 to 5. There have been literally thousands of hours of work put into it. So those questions are actually out there, and you can talk with the people that have been working on this for quite some time. The honest question for me to ask is, what is the cost of a political appointee who happened to give $50,000 to a campaign through several different places and end up with a position that costs us our ability to have functioning government? And every 4 to 8 years, that person's replaced with yet another one who, allows all the people that are there working long-term to hunker down over a period of time. So there's a huge balance between the two, and it's something that isn't something that's lightly done. But thank you for your input on that. There has been there's been a stir among the Maui population about the possibility of starting a Maui County Department of Agriculture, which is separate and distinct from the State Department of Agriculture. We start working our own side here. Could you speak in about a minute or so if you have any thoughts or ideas about that?
I think the state agencies that we have now are doing a good job. I did a lot of work with NCRS on Molokai. They helped me design my irrigation plan. I was on a program for pest control and pest management. They did a lot of work with me, and I was able to access grant money with them. The money from the state is out there. You just have to go through the red tape to apply for it. The CTAR, you know, the University of Hawaii Tropical Ag, I also did a lot of test crops with them on LANAI and got a lot of help from them. So
I can appreciate that. We're not talking about usurping the state in any way. We're talking about taking care of things here more locally. And what I'm hearing you say is everything is okay and the state is taking care of things well, and we just have to work through the red tape. Is that correct?
You have to work. We need to all be working together. I don't know where it is going to be economical for us to start a whole new division.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed to know about that particular issue. So the ability to work well together on the council is very important. One of the challenges we see as citizens over decades is all the internecine warfare that's caused challenges. It has to do with some of the most nitpicky small manini things, and some things are big, and some are things that are working 3 levels in the background and whatever. It's not transparent in most places. And one of the major concerns that we have as the Pono Network is whoever we're going to back to make sure that they are honest and transparent. And these type of game playing, which we've seen a lot of in this last council, doesn't happen. And quite candidly, those are some of the more direct questions that we ask is, where are you going to sit whenever someone comes to you and there are 3 or 4 people and they want to usurp the council chair, or something else is happening over on the side, or there's some sort of deal to be made with the mayor? I mean, how are you going to be different than the people that have already been on the council?
I can't tell you how many boards and commissions I've been on in the last 30 odd years. So one of the things about being on a board or being in any kind of, I've been working mainly with nonprofit organizations, is you have to get everybody to be in, not necessarily in agreement, but you have to come to some kind of consensus. You can't just let things drag on. You just need to be able to move things forward so that everybody has the right to speak and the right to express their opinions. But when push comes to shove, you've got to get everybody together on the same page so that you can get things done instead of flip-flopping all over the place. So I think I can do that. I have the experience to do that.
Okay, thank you. With that, I think I'll pass it on. Who's next? Paul?
Yep.
Who is it? Sylvia? Okay.
So
Sylvia, go for it.
Yes, Alberta, thank you. Just to follow up to Sean's question, I appreciate that for sure the Maui County Council needs to unify and move forward together as a group. Having said that, I also am curious to just clarify what side would you fall on, because it just always seems to be these voting blocks of 5 against 4. And we're really, honestly, in my opinion, would like to see 5 progressive council members. I don't know if you agree with that and who you feel the most connected to on the Maui County Council, and where do you see yourself fitting into that
I have
scheme?
great respect for the chair, Alice Lee. I think she's there. We have the right person at the right time. When this coming year is going to be a really tough year, because we have to get the council, we have to, as a council, move forward so that we can help get the economy back rolling and things rolling again. We won't have time we're going to have to make some tough decisions, and we're going to have to make them fast so we can get our county back on track. So I really respect Alice Lee. I also feel very in tune with Yukile Sugimura, especially with her, with her support of trying to get our junk drivers off the road. And Tasha, I love Tasha. I think she's a true Hawaiian leader, and I respect them. I still don't know some of the others as well as I would like to, but I am going to be able to work with all of them. I respect and honor all of them.
Thank you for that. And what are your priorities as far as once you would be elected in office? What would be the first things that you would want to focus on, and how can we get the economy rolling again?
You know, I'm a firm believer in that government cannot do everything by itself. So I strongly support nonprofit organizations who go out into the community and who get things done. So my support is going to be with bumping up nonprofits so they can go out and do the jobs that they do well. Affordable housing is a real problem, not just on LANAI, but all over Maui County. And I would like to maybe take a different track on that, because whenever you start talking about affordable housing, nobody wants it next door to them. And instead of planning affordable housing that's just more houses tacked on, expanding subdivisions to Kahalui, to Upcountry, to Paia, wherever they're going to be built, I would like to see us start planning communities. So you start with a community with maybe an elementary school, which isn't that far out of the way, so that our elementary school kids can stay in their own smaller communities and have some kind of a core with mom and pop businesses that will provide for the people within that community, and have it closer to where the jobs are. So you don't have to drive from Paia all the way to Lahaina. You can live where you work. And those smaller communities that we can create could have things like assisted living facilities. There are a number of small businesses, in-home healthcare services, small grocery, or convenience stores within them. But make them tree-lined and walkable and a true community. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing walls and walls and walls of fences blocking out houses when you drive through certain neighborhoods. I want to be able to know who my neighbors are and feel that I'm a part of that community.
Thank you. There's nowhere to go for a walk in a lot of these communities and places like that. I think we just have 30 seconds left, but anything about the parks?
I love parks. I want to see every community throughout Maui County with a park like Gold Park, right smack dab in the middle of it. So if we could start thinking about planning communities that way, it would be miraculous.
Thanks so much. Okay, Paul, you're next.
So Alberta, just around the issues of what happened in Lahaina, what are your thoughts about the county's management, handling, and defiance of the EPA fines, their findings and repair and remediation guidelines for the sewage leaks from Lahaina sewage treatment injection wells into our ocean, reefs, and beaches?
I've talked to several people who manage water, and the question I had is, okay, if you're going to process water, if you're going to clean it to the point where you can release it into underground wells to get out into the ocean, why can't you take that water and use it on land and create natural looking waterways that will attract bird life, or that could become part of a lake that people could walk around or bike around or use, rather than just flushing it out into the ocean? Because you're injecting it underground and it does seep down into the ocean, and it is released into the ocean. So why can't we create waterways, natural looking waterways?
Great. Thank you. I understand that would be an ideal if we could have that. But, we've been dealing with this reality for quite a number of years. And if I look at some of the county council members that you look up to, with Alice Lee and Yuki Lei and Tasha Kama in terms of their decisions they made about the injection well, in terms of the litigation process, how would you have voted? Would you have voted with them or against
I would
them?
probably have voted against them. Yeah,
Okay.
I want to see that water used to grow trees, grow plants, help make our communities more beautiful. So it's recycled water that we could use. We could be using it for landscaping and to beautify our community instead of flushing it into the ocean.
Great. Thank you for that. And I'll pass it on to our next one. Bruce, are you ready for your question? You're on mute too, Bruce.
Remember to unmute.
Sorry, I lost internet connection, so I just got back on. I would say, how would be your solution for the homeless situation on Maui and for affordable housing? 2 questions.
I'm a big fan of the Lieutenant Governor, and he's doing so much to help the homeless people on Oahu. I think creating small villages, small communities where homeless people are integrated with regular people might be a solution. The small houses that they're building on Oahu for them, it gives them a place to be. It gives them, their own space. About 2 years ago, I went to Seattle, and I looked at one community, outlying community there, where they had these Quonset hut tent things that were set up on pallets, but they had a front door and they had a window and the door was lockable. I just think that we can do a lot better than what we're doing now with the homeless population on Maui.
And how about the situation of affordable housing?
What about affordable housing? I think that we have to start doing land trusts and land banks where if you build an affordable house, and buy an affordable house, you're not going to be able to sell it 5 years down the road and make a profit off it. We need to keep these affordable houses affordable, but I don't want to see affordable houses just with one class of people. That's why I'm more interested in integrating affordable houses into a larger community so that you have different classes of people, different economic levels of people living in a community. Do you know what I'm trying to say is I don't want to see a rich neighborhood here and a poor neighborhood down on the other end. That we should try to make it so that there's a little bit more integration. And we should also be considering, instead of just affordable houses to buy, we should be looking at affordable houses and apartments to rent, multifamily complexes that are still on a small enough scale to be human rather than into a multi-story building.
And what would be your priorities if you got elected into office? What would be your pet projects, your priorities that you'd put your most energy into have happen?
I'm sorry. I need to get my dogs out. Hold on. Come in. Sit down.
Bruce, your mic could be a little bit louder also. So you want to put some
They're
volume.
farther in here than they are outside. So Bruce, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Oh boy, what was my question, you guys?
Well, we're talking
What would be what her priorities would be if she got on the council?
What would be your priorities if you got on the council? What would be your pet projects, and what would you put your main energy toward?
The first thing I would do is if that resolution Ricky Hukama wants to pass to make it illegal to feed feral cats, I want to get that out. And that would be the very first thing that I would work hard on if it does pass. But the second would be try to take care of our homeless people. The next would be trying to create housing for rentals and for purchase in a mixed-use neighborhood.
And what would be your solution? The biggest issue right now is our economy and our loss of jobs and starting the economy back up and dealing with everyone affected. What would be your plan on how to deal with that situation on the county level?
I think we're going to have to start giving people some rent subsidies. You know, a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, and you don't realize how bad it is until it's happening to you. For the first time in my working life, I am unemployed. My business is, you know, I sold my newspaper, that was fine. But I also manage a taxi business, that's closed down. I am unemployed and I haven't been able to access unemployment insurance. I'm eligible for it, but it still hasn't been processed. So I think we're going to have to pick up packages to help the people in need who are desperately in need of food and housing and shelter, and take care of them some way or another through the county. And somehow or another get people back into jobs working, even if they have to be doing community service jobs like picking up trash alongside the roadways or doing whatever, so that they feel that they're becoming contributing members of our community again.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I will pass it on to the next.
Okay, so is it my turn again? Okay, Alberta, you know, it's the county, through what's just happened demographically with the COVID virus, there's this massive reset. I know that LANAI has its own unique challenges. Over here, I lived Kenai for some period of time, and I've lived off Adore Faith for a period of time. And we reached the point where we're having over 3,000 cars a day travel the Hana Highway. And the small communities started to disappear because we were pushed so hard by the illusion that's given to tourists as to what Hawaii was supposed to be, that we lost our connection, we lost our ability to talk to our neighbors, and we lost our dignity as human beings, as well as people who live here in Hawaii. It's a real challenge. Now there's a reset. There's a huge, massive reset happening. I live several miles from where I have to go through a National Guard checkpoint. We enjoy it over here to a certain extent, but everybody can feel that there's a reset happening. I'd like for you to speak for a minute or so about what you are going to do that's different than the other people running for LANAI positions to help us in that particular, in this new place that we're living.
I think you're going to see caps on short-term vacation rentals in every neighborhood in this county. We're already looking at caps here. You know, when Mulcahy first started saying we don't want tourists, we want our lifestyle, people went, well, wait a minute, you don't have jobs. But I think they were right. They still have their island. I lived out in Hana. In Hana, in the old days, if 100 cars came to Hana, that was a really big deal. Now 1,000 cars go out to Hana. I can't drive out to Hana because I'm not 3,000 cars a day.
We had
beyond me. There's no bathrooms. There's no showers at the beach parks. There's nothing. There's between.
Twin Falls had 300 cars parked at Twin Falls.
Oh.
So we're talking about a massive overextension. We had, somebody else can kick in the numbers. We weren't supposed to have over 20-something% tourists. We were up to 40, well over 40% of our population. We literally, we were losing our capacity to connect.
Yes.
And that's going to be a massive thing. You know, it's going to take real intellect and understanding and stepping out of the standard way of working to be able to make changes. And I'm just trying to find a little of what it is. I understand the vacation, but let's get down to the basics. This is the reason I was asking about Department of Agricultural things. We have to step out of the standard box. The box no longer serves us. What do you see as being the things that you would bring to the council that are revolutionary, that are different?
Oh, well, I think we need to limit the amount of car rentals that are available on the island. I like the car rental facility at the airport. I think it's helped a great deal as a traveler. When I go over to Maui and needed to rent a car, it's a huge improvement on the airport. But we have too many people. I don't like the way in Kihei, Wailea especially, where all the hotels that were built 30 years ago are being torn down so that they can build bigger and better and fancier hotels. We've lost the way.
Okay. Okay, great. I think I'm pretty much, Paul, you want to go next? You got,
Sure, thank you. Alberta, a 2016 charter amendment to allow our county council to obtain legal advice from a source not connected to corporate counsel. The chair of the litigation committee has stated that the language was insufficient to allow this to occur. If elected, will you support revisions to the charter to strengthen the wording of the 2016 amendment so the county council can have their own representation, legal representation?
I think if they want their own representation, they should pay for it themselves.
Do you mean outside of the budget that's allocated for the county?
If they feel they need to be legally represented, then they should pay for it themselves. We just at the Liquor Commission, there was a discussion on whether or not we should have our own, instead of using corp counsel, that we should have our own attorney just for our department. It's not feasible. No, we have a legal department in the county. Everybody should use it. If there's a problem outside of that, then the person requesting it should pay for it themselves.
Thank you. The next question I have is about our electric rates that we have. And since Maui residents pay the highest electric rates in the nation based on the electric being provided by a private corporation, MECO, and Kauai pays the lowest rates in the nation based on the electric being provided by a community cooperative, what are your thoughts about supporting efforts to changing our electric distribution system from private corporation to a publicly owned and operated cooperative?
We can do it on Maui, but we can't do it in smaller communities like LANAI and Molokai. But it should be doable to have a co-op on Maui. We have like on Kauai, because it's a co-op, they have to have members serving on it. Maui has the resources. They have the people there that would be able to do that. So yes, I think it's a very positive idea. Actually, about 8 or 9 months ago, there was a study group going around from county to county, not county to county, but speaking out to communities where they asked us to look at the different ways, different types of management of electric utility companies. And it was very interesting, but we're just too small to do it on our own. Maui is big enough that there's no reason why they couldn't possibly do their own.
Great, thank you for that.
But also, you got to remember, you also have to provide electric power to outlying areas like Hana. So you have to consider that although you're pretty centralized on Maui, you still have Kaupo and Hana and Hualo, places like that you have to serve too. But work that out.
but the whole thing is, you know, if elected, you would be willing then to really explore that option and look at the rates that we're paying here as residents and how that can shift and change then
Yes.
if it goes more to private. Okay.
I've been a renewable energy person from the get-go, because I don't know if you remember when they first rolled out 2050, when by 2050 we would be using just renewables. So I've been part of that process for a really long time.
Great, thank you. We have time for 2 more questionnaires, so that if anyone else would like to get on and ask Alberta questions before we get Gabe on. Sylvia?
Yes, Alberta. Do you feel that the current Department of Public Works and Environmental Management is functioning effectively? How would you change it if not?
Not fair to ask me that. I have to go in and see what they're doing. It's it's easy to criticize departments from the outside. I think you have to study and see actually what they're doing before you can criticize them.
Okay.
So, I don't want to answer it.
Okay. Another thing you mentioned, as far as kickstarting our economy, you would like to see the nonprofits be able to step in and do that. I'm curious how that actually works. You also mentioned even just putting people to work, collecting garbage off the streets to give them some place to work and dignity. So do you see it the public sector, the private sector, jumpstarting the economy? Have you heard of the Green New Deal, and how do you feel about that?
We have to all, because of this virus, we forget the old ways. We all have to step up to the plate and work together to get the economy going. So it's just not going to be the council members or the state, or it's all of us together. All of us together have to work together. It's small businesses, big businesses, farmers, home backyard gardeners. We all have to get into the same canoe and paddle in the same direction to get over what we're going through now.
Are there any specific measures that would encourage that kind of growth?
I think so. I think this pandemic has hurt so many people that we're in a totally new place now. We all have to figure out what our section of the pie is going to be and how we're going to get back into some semblance of normalcy. A lot of people have been hurt by this pandemic. So you're either in or you're out, and I want to be able to hit the ground running from day one to make it all happen again.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we are getting near the end of this interview, Alberta. We've been going for almost an hour, so I greatly appreciate your candidness and your response. And is there anything else that you would like to say? And Dan, we'll go to Daniel if you have one more question, and then we'll have Alberta finish up. Okay,
yeah.
Daniel?
Mahalo, Paul. Okay, Alberta, you just stepped out from the Maui County Liquor Commission Board. Is that correct?
Yes, I had to resign to run for public office.
Okay,
it's
so
in the rules.
So you said that you went into the Maui County Liquor Commission Board to your goal was to create a friendly place for licensees and education rather than the tickets. In your time and experience there, were you able to accomplish what it is that you were there for?
I think so. More people were coming to testify, and testifying in front of any board, any commission, is really nerve-wracking for people. But I like to really encourage people to come in, and I thought of myself as a friendly face for them, so that they would feel comfortable about coming to testify. We had a lot of young people from Maui Coalition for Drug-Free Maui coming to testify, and I really encourage that.
And what was your purpose, your inspiration for leaving the Maui Commission so that you can pursue this office seat? What was your inspiration there?
Well, you know, I've been involved in so many things on LANAI. We're facing a huge transition with our new owner here. I have a good working relationship with Pulama LANAI, that's Mr. Ellison's holding company. And I want to make sure that the people who work for Pulama LANAI, the 1,200 people that they employ, are represented, that their voice is heard. Right now, if they want to serve, if they're asked to serve on a commission or board, they're viewed as, oh, well, they can't because they work for Pulama. They, you know, and it's not right. If they have an issue on the table that directly involves their employer, then they can recluse themselves. But for the rest of the time, I don't see why they can't be a part of it. They're the major part of our community, so they should be at the table.
Thank you. I do have one other quick question for you. As I was thinking, when you sold your newspaper, do you get an income off of that paper in the future, or did you just sell it as an entity completely?
You know, I
per contract.
I on my newspaper was a labor of love. I made next to no money working on it, all the years that I worked on it. It put me in the center of things, and I really enjoyed sharing information with my community. But when all was said and done, in my 2019 taxes, I lost money on the newspaper. The sale of the newspaper allowed me to pay my back taxes, which were huge because from month to month, I never had enough money to get caught up on my TE or get caught up on my federal. So finally now I'm free and clear and out of this burden. If I still owned the newspaper, I'd be bankrupt now. Because
okay, no problem. Thank you so much. I was just curious if there was any kind of ongoing income. That's all I was asking about.
Ongoing
Thank
income?
You. Yeah, sometimes it's okay. You've answered the question. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I didn't make any money. It was a labor of love.
Thank you, Alberta, again. And I just wanted to find out if you could tell our audience how they can get more information about you and your campaign, and also about any funding that they might be interested in. They would like to support you financially. How could they do that?
Oh, that would be a huge blessing for me. I have a website that's being, it will probably be up by the first week of June. It's albertadejetley.com. And if they would like to make a contribution to my account, it's Alberta Jetley Campaign Committee. The address is P.O. Box 630601, LANAI, Hawaii 96763. And I don't have any printed material yet because, quite honestly, I don't have it in my budget to have it yet. But we're doing as much as possible online, and hopefully I'll be able to do Zoom meetings with people as time goes on, because I know I probably will not be back on Maui until the middle of July. Whoever wants to call me can also call me or text me at 808-649-0808 or email me at adejetley, that's ADEJETLEY @gmail.com. But I welcome all people, anybody, regardless of which side you're on. Please, let's talk stories, let's get together, let's see what we can do together. But I will really need the help of all of you to get our county back into shape and down the road again. Thank you.